Welcome back to Tef's Travails, everyone. Today we're going to try and cold start this Austin Healey. Okay, resting under all these covers here in this garage is the very special machine we're going to be looking at today. You can just about see the distinctive outline of the bonnet there. This is where it spends its winter months in this garage under these covers, but it is used quite extensively in the summer. The gentleman who owns it, it doesn't belong to me sadly, but the man who does own it has generously allowed me to try and cold start it today. But he doesn't want it fully uncovered, so I'll be respecting that and everything else he wants us to do. So we'll take off the cover for the bonnet. Just a very attractive grill under here. So we open the kimono, as it were, and there's that very distinctive Austin Healey grill, and of course the 3000 Mark III badge there. So we will get the bonnet open, have a look around the engine bay, and make preparations to start her up. Okay, so here we are in the engine bay of this 1964 Austin Healey 3000 Mark III. The Austin Healey 3000 is probably the best known of all of the big Healeys. That's the 6-cylinder 3-litre models. It was produced from 1959 to 1967 and assembled at the MG Works in Abingdon alongside the MG models. This is an Austin straight 6 engine, 3-litre straight 6, which traces its lineage back to some of Austin's commercial models. And if you look at some of the Austin trucks from the Second World War, you will actually see a relatively similar engine in its architecture here. This one obviously is a good deal more towards the performance end of the specification. You've got twin SU carburetors here with their associated air filters directly on them. That's the oil filter there, and it's particularly inconvenient position, the owner tells me. It is very difficult to change the oil filter without making a complete mess. A lot of people have converted that onto a modern style spin-on filter. And just above the oil filter there is the regulator, made of course, as are all the electrics, by Lucas Prince of Darkness in Birmingham. But this machine is pretty standard. Most of the parts are as they came out of the factory, and you can see there hasn't been a major restoration done under here, just a little bit of paint here and there. This side here you've got part of the front suspension system, and then down at the front here you've got the steering box, which is directly coupled to the steering column, straight into the steering wheel. Some people find that a little bit unnerving, having a direct linkage to the front of the car, so if you crash into something immovable you will end up with the steering wheel in your gut. But that's all part of the fun and the joy of classic motoring. And when you've got 150 brake horsepower in front of you, as the Austin Healey 3000 Mark IIIs do, then it does require a slight change of mindset. So it's a very brief tour there of the underside of the bonnet in this Austin Healey. You got two horns on that side, and obviously the clutch and brake fluid reservoir there. And you can see a little bit of the architecture of the chassis here. Some very lightweight pressings, if you like, making up chassis members here, and it's the inside of the wheel arch there. So a pretty basic machine, with an engine that had a rather industrial lineage, but nevertheless an absolute iconic British sports car, and one we will try and start right now. Okay, let's try and give it a start. The owner tells me that the best way to achieve this, and he should know, is to just use full choke with no throttle, and allow it to start like that. Otherwise it will flood, and you will have to wait for the carburetors to drain by themselves. So I'm going to put the key in position 1. You'll hear the fuel pump kick in, and once that's filled the carbs, we will go for a start. But full choke first. So pull it out, rotate to lock, and let's go and fill the carb. And that clicking noise is the fuel pump. Just make sure it's out of gear. Handbrake on. And incidentally, this has got a fly-off handbrake, so to pull it off, you just lift it up and that pops out, which is good for those Le Mans racing starts, and that's how you engage it. Right, enough of that. Now that's interesting. That should have clicked the starter motor into action, but it hasn't, so it's obviously slightly frozen. So apparently the thing to do when this happens is just keep doing this for a little bit. If that doesn't free it, then we're going to hammer and tap on the starter motor. Right, plan B, tap on the starter motor. What I'm going to do is use a piece of metal, in this case this big red crowbar, and just tap on it gently in a couple of places on the starter motor just to try and free it up. And for those of you wondering, yes, the owner has given permission to use that technique. It's what he does himself. Okay, attempt number 2. There we go, we had some movement there. Should have held that. Okay, it did move, and it probably did maybe half a rotation of the engine. I'm going to give it another couple of taps and have another go. Okay, tapping the starter motor, attempt number 2. And this is one of the perils of having an old machine and not using it on a regular basis, is that things just seize up. While it's not terminal, it does mean you have to unseize them before you do anything. Attempt number 3, and I'm going to try and hold the starter a little bit longer in case it does catch this time. What I might do now is just try and turn the engine over by hand on the fan. Yeah, so I'm just going to reach down here, grab the fan, and try and turn the engine over, just to make sure it's not seized, really. Can't imagine why it would be. We are getting a small amount of movement there, but generally it's just slipping on the belt. So I'll use 2 hands. Try and put a bit more effort into tightening the belt, just by pressing down on it. I'm just putting a bit of pressure on the belt there just to tighten it up. Yeah, and now we are turning the engine. That's fine. So that is not seized. What I suspect it is, it's just the where the starter motor cog engages with the engine. There's something a bit stiff there. It's the sort of thing that a good run will solve. But yeah, I can feel some very good compression there. Yeah, taking it through at least one revolution there. So I've got no concerns on that front. Right, let's try that again. And I'll put you over this side for attempt number 3. Third time lucky, perhaps. It did move again there. I just felt the car shudder. It did move again there. I just felt the car shudder. There we go. But it's not turning very quickly. So we could be into a low battery here. It did fire. It fired and immediately came off the starter. Fired and immediately came off the starter. Let's just give the starter a break there. What's interesting is that you can, you probably saw the camera shaking there in time to the rotations of the engine. The engine is so huge and there is so much torque coming back through into the body of the car that was actually moving me and moving the camera, which I'm holding. And you can feel that when you're driving this, because I have had the privilege of driving this car. When you're just sat at idle and you blip the throttle, you can feel the car almost wanting to turn itself over to the left because of the amount of torque that's available. There was a good cough there. Another one. Let's come off the starter. We might be getting into the territory where a quick battery charge is needed, but let's see if it will start on this. Fired on a couple there. And incidentally, you can see the oil pressure building up nicely and falling off as soon as we come off the starter. I'll just show you that on this attempt. You can also see the electrical discharge as well when we come onto the starter. But we are getting consistent firing. And I do wonder if this is one of those occasions where a drop of easy start wouldn't go amiss, but I haven't got any. So I'll give this a couple more attempts and then put a bit of charge in the battery and come back after a cup of tea. It's so close, and it's wanting to go, but I can feel the battery going. It's very close now. That was a full rotation on quite a few cylinders there. And again, immediately. And every time that fires, we're building up warmth and compression. Didn't sound too healthy. Yeah, nearly ran there. I'm also getting slightly concerned about flooding here now. Okay, we nearly ran there. The reason I'm turning it off after each attempt is because that stops the fuel pump, and if you leave the fuel pump running, it will overflow. That was quite enthusiastic there. Oh, so close, so close. Next one, I reckon. So close. There's 12 seconds already. not yet running on all 6. And we haven't yet seen anything on the rev counter. But I can hear them building. But she lives and she runs. Can't see any fluids pissing out of anywhere. That sounds pretty sweet, to be honest. Right, let's see if we've got anything on the rev counter. Yeah, that's responding now. Yeah, you can tell definitely all 6 have kicked in now. We're showing a charge into the battery, which is well needed. We've got very good oil pressure, and you can see the water temperature is moving off 0. So all systems are working properly. Leave that to warm up for a moment and see if we can ease back on the choke. You can't ease back on the choke too soon, or this is what will happen. She will basically stall, and all that shaking is not good for a machine of this vintage. So we'll put a bit of choke on, a bit more actually, get the revs up high enough to not discharge the battery, which is why the ignition light has just gone out, which is good. So we'll warm it up there at about 9,500 RPM for a few minutes, and I'll bring you back. That sounds pretty sweet, to be honest. Now, something you can hear is a bit of a blow underneath from the exhaust, which does need fixing, and sounds a little bit tinny when it's driving past you, unfortunately. The other advantage of putting a pipe onto the exhaust pipe is that it sounds incredible. Been warming up now for a few minutes, no condensation coming out of the exhaust anymore, but a beautiful noise instead. Let's have a look at the instruments. You got about 1500 RPMs there on the rev counter. We've got a good charge coming into the battery, oil pressure where it needs to be, and water pressure coming nicely up. And all looking good in here, no leaks. Radiator's getting warm at the top as well, so we can lower the revs. So hopefully now it won't stall and the charge will be maintained. It's nice and warm in here now actually, which is not surprising given you've got a 3 litre straight 6 cast iron block in front of your legs. So I'll just let that tick over for a little bit longer, get some heat into all the systems. I might give it a little bit of a rev up just for your enjoyment, and then we'll shut it down. Okay, let's have a little bit of a play with the revs. See that torque wobbling there. Okay, I think we've done what we need to there. Plenty of heat in the engine, good little anti-deterioration run there. Water temperature coming up there to above 80, so we'll shut it down, and when we do, you might experience something called running on. Today you didn't. But usually when this is shut down, it continues to run for a few seconds. That really is all there is to say on this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's a lot of hanging around waiting for engines to fire up, but I suspect if you've come here looking for a Willet start, you know what you're getting into, and you've come here for those trials and tribulations. Thank you for having a look around this beautiful piece of 1960s equipment, and thank you of course to the vehicle's owner for letting us have this little play. And I'll leave you with the sounds of a cooling down cast iron straight six engine.